Hola, I'm Gerson Borrero for City and State TV. We're here with Stephen Cassidy, who represents the firefighters in New York City. He's a firefighter himself, and welcome to City and State. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me, Gerson. Good to see you.
This is interesting. You know, you always doing something, but it's interesting that right now, as we air this interview, you're going to be filing in court a call, more than the actual brief, which I got in advance of and I was reading. You're really coming down hard on the City of New York, and particularly the City Council speaker. You're accusing them of manipulating information, hiding information. What is it that you're really aiming with this? Because you're gonna
listen. What the speaker and her leadership team has done is a complete lack of transparency. They came in, they got elected, they were critics of the Mike Bloomberg, Christine Quinn administration, and what they've done, in my view, is dramatically worse. But in particular, what our claim is, we're filing an Article 78. We asked for a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act. In January of this year, January 14th, Elizabeth Crowley, council member from Queens, filed an LS, which is a request to control an issue. And the issue was the disability benefits for New York City firefighters and police officers. Now, Elizabeth Crowley had already been in control of it last year. She filed again in January 14th. They accepted her request.
Of 2015.
2015. They accepted her request January 14th of this year. 3 months later, they said to her, well, you're not really in charge of that issue. Somebody else, another council member, filed before you, meaning January 13th or earlier. So Liz said, who? We can't tell you. It's attorney-client privilege.
City Council member Liz Crowley went and did this on behalf of
New York City firefighters.
New York City firefighters.
And her constituents.
And her constituents. But she did it so at the City Council level, at the state level, you already have support for this initiative also.
Yeah,
right?
and Marty Golden and Peter Abadi have a bill, and Liz Crowley was attaching their bill and saying, I want to have a debate and a discussion on whether firefighters and police officers should have real disability benefits. So the council says nothing to her for 2.5 months, and then when the issue starts to percolate, after I had done my video with Black and Hispanic and Asian firefighters highlighting that the new recruits have no benefits, all of a sudden the City Council says to her, well, you're not really in charge of the issue. Somebody else filed ahead of you.
That somebody else would be another City Council member.
Allegedly, that's their claim.
What do you mean allegedly?
Well, I don't believe them. I don't believe them. Liz asked them who, and they said, we can't tell you, attorney-client privilege. I spoke to Ramón Martinez.
Wait a minute, that's the chief, Ramón Martinez being the chief of staff of the New York City's council.
Yeah, to Speaker Viverito.
Okay.
Yeah. And he said to me, I can't tell you. I said, so I'm supposed to accept.
Did he tell Council member Liz Crowley?
No. Said he can't tell her either.
Why?
Attorney-client privilege. So I said to him, this is nonsense.
Wait a minute. So Ramón Martinez is an attorney? I didn't know he was an attorney.
He's not an attorney. Listen, everybody that I've talked to, every attorney that I know has said what they have alleged is nonsense. So anyway, the short version is they won't tell us. There is allegedly some council member who filed before January 14th on an issue that Elizabeth Crowley has been trumpeting for a year.
Let me ask you something before we get ahead of the particulars and the nuances and the inside baseball. Why is this significant to a regular average firefighter that you represent, one of your colleagues that are fighting fires? Why is it important?
Well, it's important to police and firefighters because it's a specific issue. I think it's important to every New York City elected official and everybody who lives in New York. If the Speaker of the City Council is allowed to say when an issue rises, I'm sorry, somebody else filed that ahead of you, and we can't tell you who that is, but you have no control over it, so it's never going to come up for debate, discussion, or a vote.
Are you saying that she was trying to prevent from what Liz Crowley is supporting on behalf of firefighters, that she was trying to prevent that to go to a vote?
Yes. I'm not saying...
Why would she do that?
because she didn't like the topic. I mean, I'm going further than that, Gerson. I'm saying that the Speaker of the City Council believes that she has the ability to tamp down any issue that she doesn't like by saying, I'm sorry, somebody else filed ahead of you. Okay, and if somebody else filed ahead of you, you would say, who is that? I'd like to work with them. And their answer is, we can't tell you, it's attorney-client privilege. So the UFA and our council have filed a FOIA request, Freedom of Information Act. They denied it. We appealed, they denied it, and we're going to court.
You're going to court specifically to do what?
To say to them, give us the name of this alleged council member and the date that they supposedly filed for control of the disability issue sometime before January 14th of 2015.
And the defendant is the City of New York and the Speaker herself?
And the Speaker.
Steve, this is very difficult for me to understand. You're telling me that so far they denied Liz Crowley, and we'll invite Liz Crowley on, City Council member, to explain this. Also, Speaker Melissa Mark-Viverito is welcome, open.
She'll never come on to discuss this issue.
Why are you saying that? Why?
Because what I'm saying to you is not even debatable, it's the facts. The Speaker of the City Council and her team said to the UFA and to Liz Crowley in late March, even though you filed paperwork to control this issue on January 14th, somebody else got in ahead of you. You're not in control, so you can't bring it up for debate or discussion. The concept is simple. If we don't like what you're debating or discussing, we're going to tell you somebody else is ahead of you. And then you would say, well, who is it? And their answer is, well, we don't have to tell you because there is this attorney-client privilege. The UFA says, okay, we're going to FOIA that. Tell us who it is. And their answer is, we're not going to tell you. So we're going into court tomorrow, and not just my counsel, but Ron Kuby and everybody I've talked to, they said there's no way they can win. So one of two things are going to happen. They're going to give us the name of some alleged person, or they're going to admit they didn't tell the truth, or worse, maybe they'll come up with some piece of paper that's time-stamped from January 13th to January 12th with somebody's name on it.
But wait a minute. You're telling me that alleged person, you mean to say they're going to make up a person if they don't have that person?
I'm telling you there's not one chance.
Is that your accusation?
I'm telling you I don't believe for 1 second that this actually happened. So I'm interested to see what their response is when they lose in court. They're either going to say, we told a lie, we're going to give you the name of the person who filed before January 13th.
They would have to show you a letter, a document.
Some piece of paper with a name on it and a timestamp, or in my view, is they're going to figure out a way to try to come up with that. But if we get a piece of paper with a name on it, we're going to subpoena everybody, and we're going to make sure that this actually happened, because I don't believe it happened. And I want to tell you why, Gerson. In February and March, when we were fighting for disability benefits, nobody thought we were going to get any traction. And when we got traction in late March into early April, all of a sudden, Elizabeth Crowley was told, you're not in charge.
Who told her that?
The Speaker of the City Council and her team. You're not in charge. Somebody else has control of this issue.
Did the Speaker herself, Melissa Mark-Viverito, have this conversation with City Council member Liz Crowley, or with you, or a representative of yours? Or was it Ramón Martinez, the chief of staff?
It was her chief of staff.
Ramón Martinez.
Absolutely.
And you're saying, could it be that this happened without the knowledge of the City Council?
No, of course not.
Speaker.
Of course not. Of course not. Let's not even go there. Listen, this is a simple
Well, I'm
issue.
asking because I think it's a serious accusation. There is transparency.
There are emails going back and forth.
Right. And you have them.
Yeah, we have them. But listen, the reality is very simple. Either somebody is going to say that some other city council member who has never shown any interest in the disability issue of New York City firefighters and police officers somehow miraculously filed for control of this issue, even though Liz Crowley controlled it last year, and even though she filed on January 14th of this year, which I don't believe. Oh, and when the topic became a hot topic a few months later, all of a sudden they said to Elizabeth, you're not in charge. And then they said the same thing to me. And when I said, well, who is in charge? Their answer was, I'm sorry, We can't tell you. There's attorney-client privilege. And by the way, this concept of attorney-client privilege that allows a city council member to file on an issue to stop debate, because that's what they're doing. They're stopping debate and discussion.
In the transparent, progressive
There's no
government.
transparent. This is the most progressive, transparent government. And you got Brad Lander talking about transparency. And by the way, where is he on this issue?
Have you called him?
Of course I've talked to him about it. You get no response from them
He's
because
in charge of the rules of the council.
they're transparent on the issues that they like.
Is Brad
That's my
telling you
view.
that is Brad Lander telling you that they're within the rules of the
No,
city council?
hasn't told me that, hasn't responded to us on this issue.
At all?
No. And by the way, we'll see what his response is tomorrow, because the reality is he's in the leadership. And what I'm alleging is really stark. But what I'm saying is clear. The Speaker of the City Council and the leadership have decided to tamp down democracy and transparency by saying to anybody they don't agree with, I'm sorry, somebody filed ahead of you and you're not in charge of that issue. We'll talk to you next year.
And if it's true, it could be true, they have a letter or a document that produces this, will that satisfy you?
Well, I'd like to see who that person is. And I'd like to have a conversation with them about why they filed for an issue that they've never expressed any interest in, except maybe to file it to stop us from having debate and discussion. And again, the city of New York should understand that somebody can file an issue and then never debate it. So it's almost like they're tamping down democracy.
The governor of the state of New York, Andrew Cuomo,
Supports our issue.
supports the issue. There is support in the assembly. I saw you up before the legislature actually got their act together, or at least part of the act, that you were up there and you were talking to senators, you were doing your job as head of the union. Is this a Democratic thing, Republican thing, or is it just an individual thing coming out of the Speaker's office? Is she doing the mayor's bidding on this? Where's the mayor on all of this?
Well, I think that it's clear that she was supporting the mayor's initiative. I don't know if the mayor was telling her not to allow this to come up for debate or discussion. Listen, we had a lot of support in the assembly. We had tremendous support in the Senate. We thought we were going to get this done. But the reason we had to go to Albany to try to get it done in Albany is because we could not have a debate or discussion in New York City. A council member, Elizabeth Crowley.
So you went for a remedy at the state legislature?
Yeah, we tried to go around them. But they wouldn't let us have a debate or a discussion. Their answer was, we're sorry, you guys don't have an opportunity to have a debate because some unknown city council member apparently has filed for this before Elizabeth Crowley. We can't tell you who they are. And if they don't bring it up for debate, there is no debate. Is that really democracy? There's no democracy in this current city council. It sounds like we're in a third world country, but these people, the leaders who are saying transparency, transparency, it's shocking. And when we win this court case, they're going to have to provide us the name of whoever this alleged person is. And they better be sure that that person is going to testify under oath that they actually filed that paper before January 14th.
Today,
because when you start lying under oath, you put your career at risk.
The filing will be done tomorrow?
It's done today.
Today, Monday,
We're having our...
the 13th of July.
Absolutely.
So you will then announce it and release the documents tomorrow at 11 o'clock?
We're having a press conference tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
Who will be standing there with you? Will there be elected officials? Would Liz Crowley, the city council member, be standing with you, or are you doing this on your own with your members?
I'm doing this with a dozen to 24 New York City newly hired firefighters, all black and Latino, who have been denied their right to have a hearing on whether or not
Are these the people most impacted, the black and Latinos?
Absolutely. More than half of the New York City Fire Department hired after 2009 are black and Latino, and they have no disability.
But wait a minute, you're the white guy, the president of this union who has excluded allegedly people of color from it, and you're telling me that now you're accusing them of excluding these people?
Well, listen, I've never hired anybody. The union doesn't hire people. The New York City Fire Department hires them. So we represent them.
Correct.
So if they've hired...
I stand corrected.
Yeah, but so the bottom line is they are now hiring black and Latino and Asian firefighters and more women at a higher rate. And they all have no disability benefits. It's a disgrace. And the progressives, you would think, would be outraged by that. But whatever their politics are, they decided to put their boot on this issue and say to us, come back next year, like we're in grammar school. We're not in grammar school. The New York City firefighters are not going to take this. We're going to win this in court. And more importantly, we're going to highlight to everybody that they need to explain how it is possible that they think it's okay to say to a council member 2 months after they filed their paperwork, sorry, you're not in control, somebody else got ahead of you, and we're not going to tell you who it is.
In your conversations with Ramón Martinez, who I assume the Chief of Staff for the New York City Council Speaker, Melissa Mark-Viverito, is what we're talking about. When you discuss this with him, you asked him a name, who was the person. He denied at all times. He said it was privileged information. Is there any other council member that Liz Crowley has told you, maybe it's so or so-and-so? She has no
So
knowledge
her answer
of it.
was she doesn't believe anybody filed ahead of her. The only person that we think theoretically could have thought to do it would have been the speaker herself, right, to control the issue. And when I asked Ramon if it was Viverito, he said absolutely not. But
He said absolutely.
absolutely not, but I can't tell you who it is, which is, a bit of a joke. But anyway, we'll find out. We're going to win. I mean, democracy, to some extent, needs to have clarity and needs to have transparency. And they can talk about transparency. But if elected officials in the city of New York think that they can hide an issue from the public and a debate, they're wrong. You can have a debate and say no, but you cannot say we're not going to have a debate.
Now, you did send a FOIL request. What happened to that request? Where is it?
The attorney for the city council denied our request. We appealed. They denied our appeal. They cited some precedent in the past, none of which have anything to do with the particular case. My attorney, Mike Block, who's been representing UFA for 30 years, and other counsel, including Ron Kuby, I've discussed with, are shocked that they would even claim this make-believe attorney-client privilege. It's make-believe. It's disgraceful. It's going to be knocked down, and then they're going to have to answer to what they did.
Look, I'm not an attorney, and I'm not playing one here in this interview either, but...
Neither am I.
Okay, but I would love for the city council speaker, Melissa, if it's open here, or if you want to send Ramón Martinez, the chief of staff, so maybe, these are serious charges or accusations, and certainly it's going to be, in public display. The document is going to be public. Is there anything else that during the course of this negotiations on behalf of those firefighters that are joining now the system that you've conveyed? Have you had an opportunity to present this at the city council individually to council members or to the Progressive Caucus, to individual Black and Latino caucus, anything?
Well, I've had discussions with the groups, but and we've reached out to every group to highlight that the fire department is changing, and now that there is a pension, no real pension disability benefits for the new hires, it's disgraceful. And what I've said to everybody, regardless of what their color is, if you have 5 firefighters getting off a fire truck running into a burning building, and half of them are saying, or 2 of them are saying, I hope I don't get hurt today, because who's going to take care of my family? You're not safe. Your family is not safe. Firefighters have never worried about getting hurt because they've always known instinctively if they do get hurt in the line of duty, the city will take care of them. Now there is none of that for these new hires. And the fact that most of them are Black, Hispanic, and Asian, and female, it looks disgraceful.
So if tomorrow while you're standing on the steps of City Hall, there's a fire in Brooklyn, and God forbid, 2 of your new members go into a fire, one of them comes out, one of them doesn't. What happens to that person's family? You're saying they get zero, zilch, nothing?
If they're critically injured, the benefits are as little as $27 a day. $27
While they're injured?
While they're injured.
The one that could survive?
Well, listen, they're actually better off if they pass away.
Really?
Yes. So if they're permanently injured, permanently disabled, the benefits are terrible. The bottom line is, listen, it's up for debate whether or not what's in the past is fair now. We could have that debate, but they wouldn't have it. What they did was they put their hand on a bill by Elizabeth Crowley and stopped it from debate and discussion. And I don't believe that's democracy. I know that's not transparency. And the leadership of the council should be held accountable. It's not just the speaker. Brad Lander's out there talking about transparency all the time.
And about new rules that they're functioning on.
Well, they don't follow any of their current rules if they don't like them. So my view is this, listen, I spoke at the city council on this bill and I challenged them. Anybody who disagrees with me, stand up now. Brad Lander was standing there. He didn't say one single
Brad
word.
Lander, if you want to come on City and State TV to refute some of the accusations that Steve Cassidy on this issue, or any particulars that you have that can shed light, these are serious. And I detect that you're a little bit peed off here. You're angry.
I am angry, and we believe we're right on the issue. We believe we're going to win. But this isn't just about firefighters. I mean, listen, I was born and raised in Brooklyn. I've been a Brooklyn firefighter. My life is here in the city. You know, I want people to understand that the bottom line is very simple. Issues related to the city of New York have a right to be aired. And there's a process. And if somebody who's in charge says, you know what, I don't like that issue, I'm going to tamp it down, somebody's got to stand up. So this is more than just about firefighters and disability issues. This is about whether or not the leadership of the council can stop debate and discussion on something they don't agree with. And my view is they should never be allowed to do that. And I think after this is said and done, we're going to win, and they'll have to redo the way they do business.
Thank you for being on City and State TV. Stephen Cassidy, representing firefighters of New York City. And really an issue that's not going to go away. We'll see what happens in the court system and see who's right on this issue. Thank you for being at City and State TV, and thank you for sharing this prior to your announcing it formally tomorrow. Good luck with that.
Thank you.
We'll catch you on the next one.